Okay, in this next short video, we're going to touch up on different types of skeletal muscle fibers. We have slow twitch fibers and we have fast twitch fibers. Now, fast twitch fibers, they contract very quickly, but they also fatigue quickly. These are larger diameter fibers. They have large glycogen reserves, but they have few mitochondria. Because there's few mitochondria, it explains why it fatigues quickly. But it's used for a very fast, strong contraction. So power lifters have fast fibers, okay? The slow fibers, these are also known as red fibers. These are slow to contract and they're also slow to fatigue. They're slow to fatigue because they have more mitochondria. They're slow to fatigue because they have great oxygen supply, great myoglobin, red pigment. These are the red fibers. They can bind to oxygen, so lots of energy. These are like your postural muscles. These are long distance runners, right? They have more slow twitch fibers than fast twitch fibers. Most power lifters are going to have more fast twitch fibers than slow twitch fibers. Your postural muscles, those are slow twitch fibers. You could stand for a long time. Your eye muscles, on the other hand, these are fast fibers. They contract quickly. Your eyes can move from left to right super quick, but it also explains why if you read, your eyes can get tired and you can fatigue quickly. The fast fibers are white fibers, and the slow ones are red. Because they're red, they give the muscle a dark appearance. So during Thanksgiving time, this is where the big debate, if you're a carnivore, and most arguments around the table is, oh, what meat do you want? Which is the healthier meat? Some people prefer the white meat. They prefer the breast. Some people prefer the chicken leg, which is the darker meat. The darker one is more nutritious because it has more of the blood, more of the myoglobin, more of the cholesterol, more of the B vitamins. So the red muscle is more nutritious than the white. White muscle is the breast, right? The dark is the chicken leg or the turkey legs. How are turkeys mobilizing? Well, they move around on their legs. The chickens are moving on their legs, right? They're not using their wings, and you don't see chickens flying. You don't see turkeys flying around here. So when you have birds in general, when birds fly, right? If you look at seagulls and you look at hawks and eagles and your average birds that are flying most of the time, it's the opposite. Their flight wings and those muscles are going to be red, and they don't walk too much, but when they do, they're going to appear white. But on the turkey and the chickens, it's flipped because they're using their thighs and their leg muscles. The chicken legs are darker, and the breast, flapping the wings, they're not really flying, so that appears pale. Those are the white fibers. Okay, so when we look at postural muscles like the calf muscles, these are slow fibers. They don't fatigue easily, they're fatigue resistant. But if we look at eye muscles, these are fast fibers, they're pale, they fatigue pretty easily. And one of the other things I wanted to touch upon is muscle hypertrophy versus muscle atrophy. When you're training and you're exercising and you use muscles, they thicken. They increase in number, they increase in the fiber thickness, you have increased mitochondria. That's called muscle hypertrophy. In fact, when you exercise, you increase the number of mitochondria. It's called mitochondrial biogenesis. So sometimes the hardest thing is saying, just getting to the gym. And when you go there, you feel pretty good because when you start exercising, you make more mitochondria, you actually have more energy. When you're at home, when you're a couch potato and you're not really doing very much, but sitting around all day, you decrease the number of mitochondria and you get tired, you have fatigue. When you don't use your muscles, they atrophy. It's the lack of muscle activity. You reduce in the muscle size, muscle tone, muscle strength, and muscle power. And this is one of the things that I end up evaluating on my patients. I always want to make sure, especially the elderly people that I take care of, I want to make sure that they can sit in a chair and stand out of a chair without using their hands on the hand rests. If they get up and they have to push their hands on the hand rest to stand up, it tells me they're recruiting and there's a weakness in the quadriceps. And I want them to have good quadricep strength so that the elderly can sit on a toilet, get on and off a toilet by themselves so they can remain independent for a long, long period of time. Between the ages of 30 and 50, about 10% of muscle tissue is replaced by fibrous connective tissue and fat. And between the ages of 50 and 80, another 40% of muscle tissue is replaced. So the consequences of losing that is that you lose muscle strength and flexibility. Reflexes become much slower, and the slow oxidative fiber numbers start to increase. And what I'll do is when I meet my patients and I shake their hands, I look at the fingernails. We covered that in another lecture to make sure they're pink and then they're not pale. We look at the shape as well to make sure there's no clubbing for oxygen deprivation or lung cancers or emphysema. But when you start to see the valleys here, right here, the metacarpals, you could see the extensor tendons, but between them, there should be thick muscle. When I call them hills and valleys. So the hills are on the top of the metacarpals and the valleys are in between. This is wasting of the muscles in the hand. We call that sarcopenia. Sarcopenia, just like the sarcomere. We don't want them breaking down their own body protein and breaking down their muscles. They need strength. So I'll use an instrument in my office called a dynamometer. And what they'll do is they'll squeeze and it'll measure. There's a needle and it moves when they squeeze this, and you can measure how many pounds of crushing force a person has in their hands. And we want to make sure that it's symmetrical between left and right. They have smaller dynamometers as well that you can test just for, let's say, thumb and index finger, just for fingers individually instead of a whole group of muscles. So I can measure strength of the upper extremity in their hand by using this instrument, a dynamometer. And then for the lower extremity, again, I want to make sure that they can stand out of a chair without pushing on the armrests. And I want to make sure that they can sit down in the chair without using their hands on the armrests to sit down and slow down the movement. I also want to make sure that the elderly can walk at least 10 or 12 steps, stop and turn around smoothly without taking small, quick, rapid steps to turn around. Things to look for. Okay. When the quadricep muscles and the lower leg muscles are strong, they have better balance. When they are weak, they tend to lose their balance and then they fall. And incidence of survival from the elderly when they fall within 2 to 3 months, many don't make it that long. Okay, so we want to make sure they have good strength, good balance, good independent, maintain healthy muscle tone for as long as you live. Muscle is so extremely important. It's healthier to have muscle than it is to have fat mass. And that's why when you step on a scale, it's only measuring your mass, it's measuring your weight. You want to be able to look at body composition. If a person is 5'10 and 200 pounds, you may be like, I don't know how good that is. But if they're 180 pounds lean and 20 pounds fat, that's a very, very healthy individual. If they're 180 pounds fat, 20% lean muscle at 5'10 and 200 pounds, not a healthy individual. So it's really important that when you go to your healthcare wellness practitioners, that they check your bioelectric impedance analysis, your BIA, and they could break down your body composition.